Hey guys, welcome and welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great day wherever you are. Nails on today, but just some casual nails. Nothing of my own making, I guess. All right, so today we're going to be talking about this guy over here. I picked him up just recently. They just came onto Canadian retailer shops, so I saw it and I immediately had to buy it. This is the Diplomat Viper, and I'm a big fan of a big fan of Diplomat. I've got, I don't remember, like five or six like arrows, and then I have what else do I have? I had the Magnum. I'm looking to get an Excellence, etc., etc. Anyway, this is a very interesting pen. It comes in a variety of different colorways. This one is the green. It just came out in this green. The brown is also fantastic. I believe that there's a blue one as well, and I think a black. But it has this like really cool gouache looking pattern on it. Really, truly like a viper, like a snake scale pattern, which is super interesting because they didn't come out with the green at first with this. And you would think like with a snake pen, a viper, you'd expect a green pen, right? But you didn't get that. You got instead the very rich coffee color, a brilliant royal blue, as well as a black. This only comes in one nib size. It is a fine medium, and it's got a classic magnetic. So if you can listen, very nice closures. One of my favorite closures. It's different than the Diplomat Arrow, which I will compare later in this video. But I just want you guys to know, to see this. I don't know if you can let's see if I can change the light maybe. Maybe if I don't use that light. Oh, okay. Now you can see it. It's a little bit iridescent on the clip and on these metal parts, like the ring here, as well as the very top here where it has the symbol for Diplomat, their brand logo at the top, which is that very nice flower. And this pen changes colors. Sometimes it is this sort of emerald green that you're seeing on screen, but a lot of times it's also brighter than this. It's a little bit more like forest green, but it changes. It's really truly a chameleon depending on the lighting, which is very interesting. So first things first, let's see if it posts. Oop. And it does very securely. All right. I don't post my pen, so I will stop that. The spring here. Is it springy, the clip? And it is quite springy. It's quite easy to use. It is a full metal pen. However, it's not as heavy as you would expect. It's certainly not as heavy as the Arrow, but I'll get to comparisons in a bit. You have this hooded nib over here. Not my personal favorite, but it's all right. And this part is actually not as slippery as you think. If it was too slippery, you could put some washi tape over here and it would give you a bit more grip. But for me, it's not, just because I can rest my part of my finger onto this band over here. There's a slight groove, a small step up, and that actually allows me to balance the pen a little bit better. So quick writing sample. So this is the, am I out of ink? I hope I'm not out of ink because I have been using this a lot. It could be that. Also, I just like talk too much with it, the cap off. All right. So first things first, fine medium nib. And you can see that it is truly like a fine medium. I would say it's more on the medium side than it is a fine. So if it was fine to medium and this was like the scale, this is what you would expect an FM to be, right? But it's not there. It's more like here. So about 75% of the way. Right now, this pen is very wet. I don't know if you can see it as I write. Let's see if I can write it over here and then maybe, do you guys see that? And it's still drying down. after a few seconds. You know it's a wet, wet nib, which is fantastic. It's something that I really enjoy. It is smooth with like a hint of feedback. So like tiny feedback. It's enough that you can kind of hear it still when you write. I'll be quiet and then you can listen. But that's like with any pen, even with the smoothest pen, if you do that, it would have a little bit of that sound. But you do feel it a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's because of the nib itself or is it because of the weight of the pen? Because like I said, this is an all metal body pen, which means that it is going to be heavier than, say, something like the Schaefer Pop, which I will compare this to in a moment. And one very interesting thing about this pen actually is that I'm pretty sure it has a Naginata nib. So if this will focus, you can see this is not fully round, right? Like a lot of times you expect, if this was like the nib, you kind of expect it to look like that in a way, right? That's the tipping point of the nib. But for this pen, it's almost a little bit like this. And this is similar to like the Zoom, Sailor Zoom, or Sailor Naginata. So it was Nagani. I always forget. I say it right once and then I always forget. I'm just going to call this the Zoom. It's not exactly the Zoom, but similar to that. Where if I write at this angle very, very vertically, if I say hello, it's like this, very thin. However, if I write at a lower angle, it gets thicker. And if I write at an even lower angle, it's even thicker, which is so cool. So this is dependent on angle. Pardon my chicken scratch. It's like it gets worse, especially because I have a camera in front of me, and I'm like, ah. All right. So, and then if I do it like this, a lot thinner. You can see there's no skipping whatsoever. Great writer. And there is line variation because of the way that the nib is. It is not bouncy though, it's stiff. So it's a stiff nib, but the shape of the nib actually gives line variation, which is really, really nice. So something else about this pen. It's interesting that they decided to make this part silver because the rest of it is this sort of green, blue, shiny metal, right? On these like accent parts. But here it's silver. It's a little bit jarring, I will say. I wish they did it in this colorway. But maybe they did that so that you have a little bit of contrast when you open it or close it. Or maybe they just wanted it so that all their pens kind of have this finish for the Viper, and then they don't have to specially make something specifically for every single colorway, right? That may be a manufacturing issue. You see, I do still have ink, thank God. I refilled this just recently, and it's only been like, I want to say a few days, and I've already used quite a bit. But one thing to know about this is it comes with a converter, does not come with cartridges. And I personally love a cartridge converter because I change out my inks very often. This is also a very affordable-ish pen within the realm of fountain pens. It's 110 Canadian dollars. And what's interesting about this converter, I'm rambling, I'm going all over the place, but what's interesting about this is that it's different than the other Diplomats. Normally, all my Diplomats come with a converter like this that says Diplomat made in Germany, and then it has a nib that has all the logos on it. Obviously, this is a hooded nib, so you're not going to see that. However, this is a completely unmarked converter. So I was pretty surprised. When I got it, I thought, oh, did it just not come with it? And the pen shop I bought it from like gave me a converter because I was expecting this pen to honestly just come with cartridges instead of a converter. But then I asked my friend who has the brown one, and she said that her converter also came with the pen and is unbranded. So that's very interesting to me. How does this compare with some other pens? This is the Diplomat Arrow, and I can tell you with ink right now, this pen, like 75% of this one's weight. The Arrow is so much heavier than this guy. But let's put them next to one another so you can see. Also, the girth of the Arrow is way larger too. And then we can compare that with the Schaefer Pop, which is here. This one, plastic body, plastic everything, very light, really handy pen as well. And then this one over here, which is the Pelican 200, which is a much smaller pen. So let's line them up like this and move this back a little bit. Okay. You can see the differences. This is what I consider to be at the upper end of a pocket pen, lowest end of, like the smallest end of a regular pen. I say this is more like a pocket. Let's uncap it to compare. So you can see this is how it would look. These are almost the same. This one is slightly bigger. And this one is about on par with the Arrow, actually. Look at them. They're almost the same size. But definitely this one feels a lot more substantial in the hand just because it is heavier. So when you write with it, it also weighs down your writing a little bit, right? So maybe not the best for long sessions if you don't have really strong hands, flexible hands, etc. This guy, on the other hand, I have used it for long writing sessions. It is not a problem at all for me. Granted, I also use this one for long writing sessions. Sometimes, depending on the day, it may get tiring. But this one, I haven't had an issue thus far. It is just as reliable as the other Diplomats I have, which always write. And one thing that I wanted to compare was this. So the Arrow sounds like this when you close it. It's like this very satisfying snap. With this one, you also get a very satisfying snap, but it is a magnet. So if you listen, that's super cool. I'm going to take out my Visconti and I'm going to show you the difference between that too. So this is my Rembrandt and it sounds like this. This is what I would typically associate with a magnetic closure. It's like a pop, right? Just like two magnets hitting one another. This one is totally different. Like, it almost feels like a suction kind of sound instead of the two clicking of two magnets. Maybe it's because of the way that it is shaped. If you can see this one, it's not so tapered or like perfectly aligned as this one. This is well machined. It's definitely engineered to be just right. You can see the gap up here is very little and it just sucks it in. And I kind of love that. It is a fantastic fidget pen, as a lot of these Diplomats are, right? Like this one, so fun to snap on and off, but it doesn't have that like magnetic feel. But this one also has that signature suction feel. It's sort of like if you imagine a vacuum, you have a vacuum tube and another vacuum tube and it went together. That's kind of how it feels like. It's really hard to explain and super weird. I really, really enjoy this Diplomat Viper. I highly recommend you pick this up if you're, especially if you're new to Diplomat, you don't want to spend, 200 plus on a Arrow, even though it's fantastic, money well worth spending, and you just want to dip your toes into it, I really recommend this. And it comes in so many fantastic colorways. The only con I have for this pen is that why is it only coming out in a fine medium? I need this in a broad. All my pens are like, well, most of my pens are broads, double broads, etc. I would love to see this in a thicker nib. All right, that's all for today. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll see you guys later. Let me know in the comments if you guys have one of these guys. Would really be excited to know what you think about it. And also, what's your favorite, like, Diplomat pen in general? Because I'm a big fan of Diplomat. Love using Diplomat. Always up for recommendations. All right, bye.